everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today I have Lotus Lain on. Lotus, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me, Holly.
You're so welcome. You know, before we actually started the show, we were having a very intense argument over Game of Thrones, and I almost wanted to make this a Game of Thrones podcast because we both have a lot to say about it, but that's not what you guys came here for, is it?
You could check our Twitter feed for that banter.
I know. I actually want to start listening to Game of Thrones podcast. Do you listen to any Game of Thrones podcasts?
No, but I might, because my fanaticism is next level.
It is next level, too. Did I tell you my dog's name is Khaleesi?
No, but I like that. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. I got hooked on that show like from day one.
Really?
I watched the very first episode when it came out, and I was like...
I didn't. I got into it more towards like the 5th season, but then I caught up and I was like, I'm in this. I'm in this right now.
Yeah. It's funny because my boyfriend had never seen it until he started dating me, and we've been together for almost 3 years now. And so he only started watching it last season, right?
Okay.
And I told him, I'm like, you need to watch everything else and like get caught up. Like there's so much to it. And he's like, no, it's fine. I'll just, whatever, ask you. And he was kind of like blasé about it at the beginning.
Yeah.
He was like, it's kind of I think he said it was predictable.
Oh, no, it is not.
And, because he like totally named the one dragon being turned into a zombie dragon. Like he called that, but whatever. That doesn't mean that you can fucking predict the show. So, so he was like, oh, it's kind of predictable. It's kind of silly. And now he's obsessed with it. Like obsessed with it. Like
turned him
we
over.
have dinner and he literally like all we do is talk about Game of Thrones. And he'll call me in the middle of the day and be like, do you think that Bran's the Lord of Light? And
I've heard that theory before too.
Yeah, and I'll be like, okay, wait a minute, dude. Like, and he works at a law firm, so like
he's like thinking of like serious stuff, and then he's like, wait a minute, this Bran theory.
Yeah, he's like, I need to call Molly in the middle of the day, and we need to talk about Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm working right now. Can we talk about this when I get home? Like, you're crazy. It's like next level. It's funny. I feel like because like he's only just started to like. You know what I mean? I've been obsessed with the show literally since day one. So the fanaticism, I'm almost used to it. But I think like he's
like
new
so
to
fresh.
The excitement.
That's cool. I'm glad you turned him over into a big fan.
It's funny sometimes when people tell me they're like, oh, I've never seen Game of Thrones. And there's a part of me that's very jealous because I'm like, God, you get to experience it from the beginning.
Right. And have all these things be surprises.
Surprising and live that over again because it's such a good show.
It is.
I don't know. I really like, for some reason, I know people go back and they rewatch it, but for some reason, like, I don't.
You haven't?
No.
I've been rewatching it.
I don't know. I like, once I see something once, I'm kind of like, okay. Like, I've seen it. I don't know. I don't really want to watch it again.
Yeah, I'm rewatching. I'm on season 3.
Really? Yeah. I don't know. Anyways. Well, okay. Enough about Game of Thrones.
Right. We still went there.
Yeah. Still went there. Sorry. So how long have you been in the adult industry?
I started in 2012 when I turned 30.
Okay.
So I turned 30 in August, and then I think by like September, the month after September, so October, September is when I started.
So you're like in your mid-30s?
Yeah, I'm 36.
I legit, like, no joke, I'm not trying to kiss your ass. I thought you were like 25.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, wow.
Maybe it's the makeup. No.
Yeah, no, you look significantly younger than what I thought you were.
Thank you. I mean, that's partly why I kind of made the decision too, because I was like looking at the way I look, and I was like, I still look the same. Yeah. I might as well take advantage of this somehow, some way, because I will be 40 and I will have not done anything with these long-lasting looks. Like,
yeah.
You know, like I never modeled or like mainstream acted. I've done like plays in school, but yeah.
So what led you to, because that's a pretty big decision.
Yeah.
What led you to make that decision?
I've always been sexual, but I never really had that like fulfillment with sexual partners. And I've been promiscuous, and I've, been lucky enough to not have anything befall me because of my promiscuity. So I was like, maybe I should take this to the next level and become professional slut, since I'm just slutting it up anyways, Doing
it for free.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? So
yeah. So what was your first scene that you did?
It was, I can't remember the company, but it was a double, like 2 scenes in one day. So I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
The first one was a girl, like triple girl. Me and another girl were tag teaming the young innocent girl and like corrupting her. And that was really fun because I like really got to go nuts on the girls because I was being like one of the aggressors, you know?
That's interesting because I would like never cast a brand new girl in a dom role.
Really?
Right. Well, because I feel like it takes
yeah.
a while to get being used to being in front of camera and having sex in front of camera. It's a very big leap.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, being a dom and taking charge of the scene is usually something that, you know, more experienced people do.
For sure.
So, but you felt very comfortable in that role?
Yeah,
right away?
I think also because I had done some dominatrix work in my hometown before.
Okay,
real
so you
porn.
had some experience in sex work.
Yeah, and in my mind at the time, I didn't think of it like that yet. You know, I was just like, oh, I had been freaky and messing around.
Right.
So I know how to do these things, you know?
Right.
But yeah, now having more context, I'm like, yeah, I guess I was already kind of dabbling in sex work before. It just wasn't on screen. So yeah, that was fun. And then the second scene was a nurse scene. This one, I remember, Horny Black Mothers or something. And I was like a nurse and I seduced Rico Strong. And I remember I had gum in my mouth when I was giving him the blowjob, and I remember laughing in the blowjob and like kind of like swirling it out and like in the middle of the scene.
Right.
And I was like, you need to think of things better so you're not like in this position again with gum in your mouth doing a blowjob.
Right. So, and how did you feel about those scenes at the end of the day?
I was really happy with them. It was pretty awesome. One of the surprising things, you know, was like the biggest paycheck I had ever seen, like even like before previous work. And I had been like retail manager at places and stuff. I worked like overtime hours. And then when they take the taxes, I'm like, oh, okay, it's like $1,000. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so when I did those two in one day and I was like, this is awesome. I made so much money and I had so much fun.
Yeah. And then from there on, you just kind of like kept working.
Yeah, networking. And I've always been independent. So it's been different and harder, but I don't mind challenges. So I just kind of networked and started meeting other directors and producers and other friends that would recommend me to people. And that's how I started getting hired in other places. And eventually to where I'm at now, where I just like doing the kinds of things I like to do rather than being like, oh, do I really want to do this? I guess I'll do it to stay relevant. That's not my mindset.
So what kind of scenes do you find that you most enjoy doing?
Dom scenes.
Okay.
Also lesbian scenes. And I like fucking dudes. I like regular boy-girl scenes. But as far as regular, I really more like threesomes with guys. Like 2 guys and me. Okay. That's my favorite. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You just like all that dick and all that attention?
Yeah, I like at least one in the mouth and one in the pussy and like one to rotate around and feel the 2 different dick sensations.
Yeah.
I've not had a gangbang, but like so far the 2 guys on one is fun.
Yeah. Do you want to do a gangbang?
Maybe, but I'd have to direct it the way I want to do it because I don't even know that I want a DP. But those are usually per standard in gangbangs. Yeah. So I'm just like, I'd have to be creative and figuring out my way around that.
Have you ever done a DP before?
Only with sex toys. So, and I know that's significantly different the way that feels in your body.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I handled it, but I was also able to choose the size of the dicks, you know?
Yeah.
So, and that's different. Like, guys come with the dick they come with.
Yeah. You can't change it. Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And DPs can be tricky, too, just in terms of, like, body positioning and then opening up to camera. They're not easy to shoot at all.
I mean, I imagine not. I know how it is just to open up with one boy girl and then you have the 2 and you need to see all the insertions.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the thing that a lot of people don't think about when you're shooting porn is like, not only do you have to be able to fuck and keep your dick hard and like make it look hot, you also have to fuck kind of sideways.
Yes, the sideways.
So the camera can
and
see.
Open your thigh in this crazy position that you would never fuck in.
No, I know. And I'm constantly, especially with new girls, I have to tell them to like move their leg, move this, move
Stretching
that.
is important.
Flexibility is a big thing. Go on your hip, like, or like with sometimes like girl scenes are harder to shoot because you don't have, your tongue's not as long as a penis,
dick,
obviously. So like a lot of times you'll just get the back of the girl's head. So she kind of has to like push her face against the side of the thigh. Like, look sideways.
Yeah.
So the camera can see.
Definitely been there.
And it can be tricky. It can be really tricky. It's like a whole different way to have sex.
It is completely. And sometimes, see, that's what I mean. Like, I don't mind the challenge. Sometimes I kind of like that struggle because I'm like, oh, I'm so horny. I want it so bad. I have to stretch and get it. Like, oh.
Yeah. For sure. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about were some pretty important things relevant to the industry. So you're part of the Free Speech Coalition, correct?
Yes, I got in contact with Eric like in 2017, just like, what can I do to help the industry more? Because I had kind of spoken at the OSHA hearing panels like the couple of years before, and I liked that feeling, but that had died down. So I was like, what else can I do to contribute?
Yeah. What do you think, like what did you see that was lacking in the adult industry that you wanted to try to help out with?
I guess what I saw and what I felt was like there was a lack of sharing of information and resources unless you literally saw that person on set and they're like, oh, hey, this is what you need to do or this is where you need to go. But if you never interact with that person or you're never going to end up on that set with them, how would you know these things? And then you find out later on and then you're like, I could have been doing that from the beginning or something. Like these are so many different scenarios, whether it's creating your own content or knowing how to clean your body properly in certain ways, all of these kinds of things I learned along the way. And I was just like, if someone would have just like given me all this at once, I would have felt way more confident in what I'm doing or how I'm doing it.
Yeah. What do you think was like one of the big things that you learned in the industry that you wish you had like known earlier?
Definitely, I wish I would have had a better understanding of what people meant when they were saying content. Because I remember like my first year, people were just like saying this ambiguous term, content, just got to shoot content or something. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like no one actually took the time to explain, like you set up your store, you shoot little clips, you upload them, your individual fans like you and they'll buy money and that money goes to you. Like no one like, and then I kind of got it and I was like, oh, I could have been doing all this free time I had. I could have just been doing that too.
Right.
You know? So
what platforms do you use?
I use OnlyFans and I am about to start on ManyVids.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I was doing clips for sale for a while, but that's like
that whole website is like, first of all, hard to navigate.
There you go.
And, like impossible. Like, I don't know, the dynamic of it. I tried to have a clips for sale store a long time ago and I could not figure out how to make that thing work. And like,
Me too.
there's certain things that you have to do in order to make money on it. And the people that are successful on it are super successful.
Yeah.
But there's almost like there's a whole process and I didn't understand it. So ManyVids is great and I've worked for them a lot.
Oh yeah. I've had a bunch of different friends and other performers say they like ManyVids. So I was like, okay, that seems to be the one I keep hearing about the most other than OnlyFans. I'm going to try that one instead.
Yeah. And Bella French, who runs ManyVids, is great.
I love her.
Yeah.
I only met her at one of these XBiz things recently, but I was just like, wow, she's so like passionate and smart, and she's like got a good heart. You could tell.
And I think also too, like having had been a cam performer herself, like she understands what it's like to be in that position, and she wants to help performers.
Yeah, exactly.
And all of that, and she's super like inclusive and really pushes like making sure that like trans people have a home and gay and all that kind
people
of stuff.
Of color. I've noticed that she does that for all across the board, and I think that's something really commendable, and it's necessary because you notice when people are being inclusive, quote unquote, and then they're excluding you in the inclusiveness. Yeah. You know, you notice. Yeah, so I think that's awesome that she really is like all encompassing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so back to Free Speech Coalition.
Yeah.
So for those of you who want to know more about Free Speech Coalition, I actually had Eric Paul
Loya. That's how he says it. He says Loya. So I feel like you're saying lawyer, but like super like slangy. Loya.
We had a whole, okay, so if you go back to the podcast with him, you can hear that he and I have a whole fucking back and forth about how to pronounce his last name because it is very tricky.
Yeah, it is.
But I must be misremembering because you speak to him way more frequently than I do, so I feel like I'm just going to defer to you and your pronunciation.
And then I go back to work and I'm wrong.
So if you haven't listened to that episode, you should definitely go listen to it because he talks about, it's such an educational episode and I love him. And Eric is so not only like a wealth of information, but really engaging and funny.
Yeah.
And he makes like it interesting, topics that can, frankly, sometimes be kind of boring to the average outsider who isn't like in the industry and these things aren't important to them. He makes it all very engaging and interesting. So, but for those who, want me to move forward and actually talk about what you're here to talk about. Can you explain to people what the Free Speech Coalition is?
Yeah, it's the Adult Industries Trade Association. So it started in 1991 more as like a legal association to help fight all the Supreme Court battles of obscenity charges and stuff that were coming against the industry. And then it's morphed because obviously that's not a battle that we're fighting anymore. It's kind of morphed and developed more into like the only like entity the adult industry has to like look to for resources or help or promotion or just any kind of like community. I don't know. I'm losing the word, but like just a community hub of like what we can do for not just producers anymore, but sometimes performers are becoming producers. So we also need to think about performers slash producer or performer slash director. And I think that's kind of like my lucky point where I got in with Eric. When I approached him in 2017, I was just like, I have this passion and I want to give back, but I don't know how. And then he was like, oh, I think we may be able to figure something out. And then he kind of created this position for me of industry relations advocate. I know Susie Q was there before me, but hers wasn't really industry relations advocate. It was more like policy because they were fighting all of the different OSHA legal things that were going on.
The condom mandates and all
that. Yeah. And she's much better at me than lobbying in that political sense. So I definitely was like, I'm not trying to do that. But I do really have a passion for wanting to help people and bring them all up to the same like level of understanding. And I think that's been my calling because like I started in 2018 in January, and ever since then till now, I feel like I'm really able to do what I wanted to do. Like people reach out to me and I have resources to give them, and they're able to tap into those things and, you know, get a better understanding of legally what they're dealing with or financially or emotionally, or they don't feel like they're lost and don't have somewhere to turn. Like I kind of want to create that feeling where people can trust FSC and know that we are trying to help, even if we don't get to things immediately, because there's literally only 4 people in the office. Yeah, like we have it all on the table and we're trying to like do what we can to like collaborate with other people that can make these things happen sooner.
Yeah, and this is actually a good time to bring up the fact that, I mean, all of these things cost money.
Yeah.
So if you are a fan of the industry and you want to donate to the FSC to help them continue to be advocates for the adult industry and provide resources that are desperately needed for performers, you can go to, what is it, FSC.org?
Yeah, well, it's free. It's freespeechcoalition.com. You spell out the whole words, freespeechcoalition.com.
And then they can go donate there?
Yeah, I think there's a donate button link or something that we've had active. I don't know. I could email it to you later, but there's a bunch of different services that we offer, like whether it be information about the codes of ethics that should be practiced on set, or the performers' bills of rights, web security type information. So there's a lot of resources there, but that's definitely something that people can do, is donate directly to FSC. And that enables us to just do more, collaborate with more production companies and affiliates that want to also do more for the industry. But like, if we only have so much budget and so much time, there's only so much we can do. Because I know eventually, like, one of the bigger things that I think is so awesome that Eric proposes, he wants to kind of create like a scholarship fund.
Oh, wow.
And get production companies to donate into that to, you know, we nominate a performer, like a few performers, and they get the scholarship so they can better their skills and talents in other fields, you know?
Okay. So like to go to school?
Yeah.
Or, oh, wow.
Yeah. Really cool. Yeah, literally. Like, so, I mean, but that's like so far away because like the immediate stuff is like mental health, legal, you know, banking discrimination. That's a big one because a lot of people are constantly left and right getting their bank shut down or their PayPal shut down.
Yep.
And how do they get that money that was there, or what do they do now? So we get
and that's a big problem. And so I had so my company used to be called Holly Randall Productions. I've since changed to something very like ambiguous. But when it was like, I had problems getting insurance. I had problems getting loans, credits, because people, and I couldn't figure out what was going on because my credit was great. I, you know, like I was making money. And finally, like one guy that I applied for a credit card with, like who denied me, I finally was like, why?
Yeah.
And he was like, look, he was like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a photographer. And he's like, what do you shoot? I'm like, people. He's like, what kind? And I was like, what are you getting at? He's like, look, basically Googled your name, saw what you do, and they're, they don't want to support the adult industry. They consider it a high risk industry. And I was like, and this was like in the middle of the recession. And I was like, I have so many friends who work in mainstream that are completely out on their asses, and I'm like still going strong.
Yeah.
So like, what's a high risk industry? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
But the problem is that they're private institutions and they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. It's the reality. It is. And that's the part that sucks is I see people feeling like this is unfair. This is an outrage, and it is unfair and it is an outrage, but it is fair because it is their business. It's not like a open public general, entity that's like for everybody, Yeah. Just like these things that are getting people's, like, what is it, Instagram shut down, Yeah. There's no guarantee that says, like, we are allowed an Instagram, like, every human on the earth.
Private country, private company. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, so as much as I agree that it is unfair that they just shut people's accounts down that aren't even showing very explicit images sometimes, it's their right. They can cancel whoever they want off of the platform. It's their platform.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. So I guess my piece of advice to people, like what would you say to people who are dealing with those banking issues? I mean, because I always say to people, like, if they're going to start a corporation, I'm like, do not put your porn name in that corporation, and don't make it anything that sounds like porn. Like, make it something super
boring,
ambiguous, and if necessary, create like a facade website, because I did that for this corporation, and make it look like it's something else.
See, that's a nice tip I'm going to add into my tips too.
Yeah, so I don't want to say what my corporation
name
is.
you don't have to.
People can like look it up and they can find my address. Anyways, so yeah, the reason that and I actually did it because I remember I was traveling to Mexico to go shoot, and I was super paranoid about going through customs because I was actually declaring all of my equipment. I wasn't trying to sneak stuff through, and I was petrified that they were going to look me up and they were going to see what I did for a living, and they weren't going to let me in the country because they were going to be afraid I was shooting porn, which I wasn't. I was actually out there to shoot for Playboy, but anyway, so I created like a facade and just like, said I was a photography business. And then I've done some mainstream stuff, and I just put up like the mainstream stuff I've done.
Yeah.
And so if anybody looked me up, they'd be like, oh, this is what she does. That's fine. Like, so that would be my recommendation. Like, create, like, I don't know, say you're a fucking professional organizer, or a sound bath healer or something. I don't know. Come up with something that like isn't porn related.
Yeah. No, that's very, very true. And that's usually, especially like when girls are doing their PayPal, like and things like that. I always say, like, use a different name, or if you have to absolutely use your name, like, that's your accountant.
Yeah. And you got to make
business manager.
Yes. And you also have to make sure that when, you invoice people or something, do not put anything adult related in there.
Yeah.
Make sure that people that are paying you do not put anything adult related in there. You just have to be super careful.
Yeah. So it's those kinds of tips and things that I just try and always give to people and have like gather from people like yourself, that you just said that other thing about your website facade, that, if people weren't listening to this podcast, they wouldn't know that until it hits them. And then they're like, dang, if I would have only known. So I just try and be like collecting those resources and always like giving them out to people.
Right.
So if they read it, it's up to them, at least I know we put it out there and made it available.
Right. I want to go back to what you said earlier about the Free Speech Coalition touching upon like a code of ethics. Could you expand upon that a little bit?
Yeah, right now we're actually working with APAC and the board members there to see if we can kind of create like an industry-wide like best practices code of ethics, and not just how to treat a performer on set, but how performers should also behave on set, or, what's expected of them that's going to be respectful for the location and the crew. And also the types of things to kind of like have on set to make it a nice, comfortable set for everybody, whether it's like from wipes to like the right kinds of snacks or something, water, having a towel, things that sometimes get overlooked. Or one of the things that came to me recently is like, that I didn't even realize, but I thought was an awesome idea. Like for really hard, strenuous scenes, the producer or director just call the person the next day and follow up like, hey, do you feel all right? Are you bruised? You okay? Like, was the shoot great for you? Or it could even be an email or a phone call, but that was something that I was like, that is really thoughtful, and that's really cool.
Because I think probably when you're on set and in the moment, you maybe haven't had time to process it.
Yes.
Yeah.
or maybe you don't even feel the bruises yet or something, you know?
Right.
So I thought that was just something, because it's like, again, like, you know how people say, oh, it's just porn, but then it will only just be porn if you don't try and improve it somehow. And it can be better. It can be ethical. It can make people feel awesome all the time, even in the most like extreme situations. So, you know, with the code of ethics too, one of the recent things that got brought to my attention is like, yeah, even, you know, the crew, as in like the makeup artist, the camera guy, and those PA people, like when we have a moratorium, they don't have an OnlyFans to fall back on. So that's just something to keep in mind of like, okay, well, what could we do there to like create some kind of like cushion or area for people in those situations? And I just like kind of solving those problems. Like, I don't want to leave anyone out. You know, we're all working together to create a final product that we're all going to benefit from.
Right.
So why aren't we all trying to do something to make like our work days as, you know, as good as possible for everybody?
Yeah. I liked some of the things that you mentioned about just like the basic stuff, like having like proper like snacks and water is on set, and baby wipes and douches. And I always actually, you know, we used to buy lunch, like have it ordered for the crew and the models, but that is quite expensive. It can be like easily $120 a pop, if not more. And so we don't do that anymore. But what I buy for my crew, because like one thing that a lot of performers complain about is either there's no food provided on set, or they order like pizza.
Yes,
you know, and it's like these girls who are trying to like, you know, look good, stay slim, feel like, you know, don't feel bloated and gross. So what I do is I go to Trader Joe's, and they have an excellent variety of wraps and salads, and I like do hummus and carrots and snap peas and like and then I also have like a collection of like dried like unhealthy snacks, like little chocolates and granola bars and chips and stuff like that for people who don't want that. I think that's a perfect
kind of mix, because I've often been on those sets where they don't have anything at all, maybe just like one or two dry ass granola bars, and you're like, okay. Yeah. Or where the food that is provided is like so unhealthy or so bready. And there's a lot of people that have allergies, like bread allergies. Like, I don't know.
We always have like vegan and vegetarian options too. It can, and we'll ask too, actually. A lot of times when I send out the call sheet, I'll put on there, be like, if you have any dietary restrictions, please let us know so we can like, you know, plan in advance.
Yeah.
But then there's actually one thing that I was just thinking about that I would love if you added to it for the models is do not fucking put self-tanner on set before we shoot without talking to me, because you don't know if we're shooting on a fucking white couch or on a white bedding, or you put self-tanner all over yourself and then you touch the walls and you leave fingerprints anywhere. Smudges. I know it sounds like something small, but it happens all the time, and it's like makes me crazy. And girls don't think about that, understandably so, because they're like, I want my skin to look glowing and good. But you got to think about like the furniture, the home, because if you ruin someone's couch, like I guess who's paying for it?
Yeah, you're responsible.
Me.
Yeah. And see, I'm glad you brought that up too, because in the beginning of Nspire, I focused on performers, obviously, like, you know, this is what it is. You know, you need to know all these things as a performer. But then I've recently been PAing on a set and seeing from the director's point of view, the frustrations that they also deal with, in situations where the performer is also a little bit not considerate, you know, like what you were saying with that, or maybe they cancel so many times and then they still show up with attitudes, or maybe they expect things to be like certain ways for them, which we all want certain things to be certain ways for us. But it just was a really interesting clarifying moment of like, wow, sometimes producers and directors are also treated badly by the talent, which wasn't a thing that had ever occurred to me, you know?
Yeah, no, it's definitely an issue. I mean, most of the girls that I work with truly are lovely, but there's also too sometimes like people just don't, I think that girls don't consider sometimes time. And I think a lot of times they forget that we're paying by the hour for the location. Like I had a girl show up an hour and a half late to set last week.
Oh my God.
And that cost me money.
Yeah.
And she was just like, sorry. And I was like, I should dock that from your pay, but I'm not going to because, you know, like I don't want to be a dick. Right. And the thing is, I can't yell at you because you need to come in
and be a good performer.
And I want you to feel good. I want you to feel comfortable, but I'm kind of pissed.
Right. Yeah.
But I have to be like, oh, well, I'm disclosure here.
And it's things like that I've kind of realized too. I'm like, okay, so the next part of Nspire I'm branching out will be also for producers and directors, but that I definitely think performers need to be aware that this is like a give and a take. Like we're both working together. We're not all just working for you. Yes, you're the star on film, but the whole crew and the whole workday would be better if people kind of had more of an understanding of what we're all going through. And that's hopefully something I want to bring to light as I keep developing the Nspire. Like it's like not one page. It's going to be like all these pages, like producers and directors, talent managers, like. So anyway, I love kind of being this resource of information because I like to like categorize it and like put it out there.
So actually, you've mentioned it a couple times, but we haven't really explained what the Nspire program is exactly. So can you do that for us?
Sure. So it's kind of a little bit of an acronym. So it's like Industry Newcomer Support Program. And it really exists. That's my little thing at the end. But yeah, so it's supposed to really like help people, enter the industry with as much information that we can provide up front, whether it be about talent managers, if they're going to have an agent or if they're going to be independent, how to do independent work, and I've gathered articles that have been written by different people. I interviewed so many different performers because I wanted it to be from our point of view, not from my point of view.
Right.
So, I interviewed males, females, trans people, independent people, talent agent represented people, just so I could hear from them things that they would tell a new person like them. So yeah, it was born out of that, and it's been really well received, and I'm really happy about that. But again, like I said, it's not just the one page and I'm not done. I want it to be something people can say, oh, you should also include this, and I'm able to do that. It's not like, oh, well, I didn't approve it. I didn't write it. So
right.
I'm very open to the feedback. And it was really great because Katie Jane from Self Booking Talent, she kind of started that new Twitter page. She recently met with me and she was giving me all this information that I wouldn't have ever thought about. And I was like, can I credit you with this and like just add it straight into Nspire? Because this is awesome the way you did it. So things like that I'm really hopeful and excited for because I like the collaborating part about this. It's because this is truly what it is. It's like we get the word of mouth from each other, except it's all collected on one page.
Right.
Yeah.
So what, can you give examples of like exactly what it entails? Like, do you have categories of like certain things that you cover?
Yeah. Like it starts like, getting started. Like this is the reality of how people will react to you, treat you, things you're going to have to protect about yourself, getting into porn. And then it goes into like, these are the agencies that are like licensed. And then this is how people operate when they're independent. You have to be a little bit more self-aware, conduct yourself differently because you're the only person representing you. You don't have an agent vouching for you. Financial stuff like, well, if you want to do a copyright or if you want to do an LLC or if you want to incorporate, these are the ways to do that. And if people want to diversify their income, which they should, through all the different streaming platforms or the different clip stores that are available and like, just this is what you need to be thinking about.
Right.
Even down to wardrobe, because when you're so new, I certainly didn't realize I had to have my own wardrobe bag. That was one of the biggest shocks. I was like, wait, you don't provide outfits for me? Not every set does. Some do, but not every set does. So you always have to have your backup. And just in case, when we were talking about the best practices for what production sets can have, not every set is going to have wipes. Not every set is going to have towels. So even in your own wardrobe, you got to include those kinds of things. So it's just like little details that you don't realize until you're there on set and you're like, damn, I messed up. I even got anal tips from like, one of the biggest anal stars right now. I know my way, but I'm like, she's like taking the most massive dicks. Like she needs to have her work. Jane Wilde. I love her.
Tomorrow.
Really, I love her. Yeah. She is so cute and fun. And honestly, like I was just really happy to include her too, because I remember meeting her when she first started and she was like so timid and like a little more shy.
When I first saw her like pictures, she was actually suggested to me for Playboy.
Oh, okay.
So she was like gonna be, like do softcore and then like,
right. She's the most hardcore. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Playboy was not the route for you. Yeah. You chose the right path.
Yeah. And I love her too, because I see her I've seen her blossom. I've seen her come into her own and be happy and confident in it. And I was like, that's the kind of person I want advice from so other people can know how to be like that, you know, like feel that way in themselves. And yeah, so it's very fulfilling to be able to like get all that stuff and information from everybody and put it together.
What sort of tips do you give for people for wardrobe? Because I got some.
I mean, I just, the most basic stuff, like please have like matching bra and panty sets, like a few different colors and like the basic black. Have, you know, booty shorts, have tank tops, have crop tops, have a business look, like in case you have to do a business look.
With closed-toed black pumps. Don't show up with fucking strappy ass heels and think I'm going to put you with stockings and strappy heels.
Okay.
Not okay. That is like a fucking pet peeve of mine. No one wears fucking
stripper shoes.
Strippers, strappy, goddamn hooker shoes with nylons in an office scene.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah.
You can get them on Amazon for like $30 fucking. They're so cheap. Just one pair of black pumps. And actually, honestly, you should get one pair of black pumps, one pair of beige pumps.
Yeah, I have that. The basic like pleaser pumps.
just do that. And then like stockings.
Yeah.
Stuff with no logos. I have
I made sure I
show up with logos.
I try to put that on there, but you know, again, like it's up to everybody to read for themselves. But yeah, that is included in there.
True. That is like, you can provide as much information as you want. If people don't want to read it, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But like girls, you can get like, you know, like especially if you're young and you're doing like teen scenes, you're gonna have a lot of requests to wear like little sneakers or something. Don't get sneakers that we have to tape.
Yeah,
the tape
it's crazy.
Doesn't stay on. It looks like shit. Forever 21 has
the most basic sneakers.
Basic sneakers with no logos on them.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
Easy.
Yeah.
So get those.
Yeah. So yeah, those kinds of tips where I try and be like, you know, even on the guy's side, you know, have boxer briefs but no logos on the band.
Oh my God.
You know?
I still have like
I'm sure they do.
who've been in the industry for 15 years who show up with boxers with like fucking Calvin Klein on them. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, Amazon is a great place that you can get tons of logoless stuff.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, it just makes it easier for you guys not having to cover things up or worry about liability.
Yeah.
And that's part of the consideration of being a performer, is being considerate to your production company who's going to have to take the hit because you wore some other company's logo in a porn.
Yeah.
That they don't want to be in porn.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's like, you know, I mean, obviously there's a lot that directors and producers need to do to make sure that performers feel good and that kind of thing. But also too, like as a performer, like showing up and being professional and being prepared goes so far, because a lot of us are really overworked.
Yeah.
And we're like, a lot of us are tired a lot of the time. And if we have somebody who shows up who just makes our job that much easier and that much more pleasant, like the chances of you getting hired back are very high.
Yeah.
Like I really want to just work with people who make my day easier. I don't necessarily want to hire like the super hot chick who's a fucking pain in the ass.
Of course, yeah. I mean, and that's what I hear from a lot of directors and producers is like, yeah, someone may look hot on camera and sell whatever, but if I have to deal with lateness and I have to deal with, you know, weird attitude or, you know, pauses every 5 minutes because they need to do whatever in the bathroom, like that's just too much for me. We're trying to make a smooth, not just for themselves, but for the rest of the crew and the location, you know?
Yes. Yeah. So. Absolutely. So, okay, we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Next Gen.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of my podcast, Holly Randall Unfiltered? Of course you are. Well, I need your help to keep this show going. This is why I've set up a Patreon account where you can donate to support my show. And in exchange, you can be eligible for all kinds of cool, fun perks and prizes, which include autographed DVDs and books. See, guys, she's actually signing shit. Free membership passwords to my website, hollyrandall.com, free mugs, pens, shirts, bags, all kinds of really cool stuff. So take care of me and I will take care of you. I will not only be able to continue to produce this podcast with really awesome, inspiring content about your favorite adult stars, but I will also give back to you in terms of all the cool, fun perks and prizes that we offer. So please support me at patreon.com/Holly Randall Unfiltered. And thank you guys so much for your support. I could not do this without you. So we are back. So there's another program that's part of the Free Speech Coalition, correct?
Yeah.
Called Next Gen.
Yeah, and Next Gen is really new, but it's a kind of a benefits package that comes as a bonus with your membership from FSC. So you can be a monthly member of the Free Speech Coalition by donating like either at the $10 or $15 amount or the $20 and $25 amount. The $5 difference is if you use the discount code Lotus. So you could use my discount code and save $5 and make that 15 to 10 or make the 25 to 20.
Okay.
So basically with either of those tiers, you get a set of benefits that's like medical, dental, legal. The legal comes with a $20 side, but
this is specifically for performers, correct?
Or anybody in our industry. The cool thing too is anyone in your household anyone in your household also has access to these benefits.
Okay.
So I kind of feel like maybe that's why that lawyer was like, oh yeah, just send her over a free consult. A story I was telling Holly earlier. But basically, yeah, so I had a performer reach out to me saying she wanted to negotiate her contract. And so I was like, well, since you don't have Next Gen, I'll just tap into mine and call for you.
This is her contract with an agent.
Yeah, her contract with her agent. And so I called the Next Gen like hotline, the legal hotline, and then they're like, oh, here's what zip code are you in? And I told them, they was like, oh, there's 3 different guys in your area, lawyers that have, you know, contract negotiation as part of what their specialty is. So I was like, all right, nice. And then I picked one and then they emailed him and he literally called me within an hour and he was really like pleasant and happy to help. And I was telling him the situation. I'm actually calling on a friend's behalf. And he was like, well, you know, adult industry contracts aren't really that difficult as compared to like the other contracts he might be dealing with in other industries. And he was like, you can just send her over. I'll still apply the free consultation to her.
Oh,
and I was just like so surprised by how swimmingly easy that was.
Yeah.
And how he wasn't like being lawyery in that like way where he was trying to sell something or try and get money or try and get me to come in or do something just extra. It just seemed like, oh, this is easy. I could just do this in my spare time, like send her over. And I was like, oh. And then, you know, just from that interaction of helping someone else, I was like, well, I should use my own Next Gen a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I've seen other performers that have used the dental benefits actually. And she was saying that she saved like $5,000 or something because she had a lot of like dental work that had to be done and she didn't have insurance, but this like saved her $5,000 worth of what that would have been. So how does that work?
Because I don't have dental insurance and I have to go get my teeth cleaned and I'm scared.
Oh, so yeah, I mean, like you get when you join the membership and you like pay your dues or whatever, within a week you get like this package that looks like, you know, when you get a package from like a car insurance company and it has like your cards and it has like the little pamphlet of like welcome. And then so yeah, there's numbers on there that have like legal, medical, the different categories, and then you just call one there. I think roadside assistance is even one of them. But yeah, and then you just call and they're very helpful. Like it is ridiculous how helpful they were. I also called on a Sunday once. So like the main services were closed as far as like everything else that operates Monday through Friday. But they were like, oh no, you need to call this number on Monday. We can't really help you with that right now. It was for a medical question, but they were like the 24-hour nurse hotline. But you could hear the urgency in her voice that she was like, if you're not calling about a medical emergency, I need to get you off the phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're serious.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool, like on a Sunday calling and asking about medical stuff. And they were like really helpful and gave me the number to the right people that would be open on Monday. And even though the lawyer being very helpful for someone that wasn't the person with the benefits package, but he was like, okay, you can still send her over. Like, so you get free consult. I'm trying to look at my phone. It's so hard. But
so I'm assuming that they must like recruit certain like dentists or medical professionals or whatever. And then based on like some kind of referral, they agree to give discounts to whoever they send.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
That makes sense.
Because when the lawyer contacted me back, he's like, I don't often get that many people calling from this service anyway, so I'm happy to help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody should get on it because there's not that many people using it and those benefits are there to help us.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, here it is. Like, oh, Teledoc, that was another one. So another performer was having like just feeling unhealthy symptoms, and then they called the Teledoc and they were able to get a prescription sent that same day to their pharmacy without having to go and make an appointment and go into a doctor. You know, it's an actual doctor that you're talking to on the phone through the Teledoc. And then like they do different lab testing and they have pharmacies available. their MRI scans, like just all kinds of access to things that may seem so out of reach if you don't have insurance or if you feel like you can't afford those things. Yeah. They're actually very affordable because at $10 or $20 a month, you have access to these benefits, and these people are very, very willing to help. You can, there's even like the name, when people want to change their name, they have like discounts on name changing services where it's like only $100 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember looking at that and I was like, if I like change my name, it won't be that hard. Yeah, like a legal name change. Yeah. Oh, wow. So that's really good, especially for like trans people that want to like legally be who they are, you know?
Right, that makes sense.
And especially eyeglasses. So there's like 15 to 55% off the retail cost of eyeglasses. Just all these different benefits that if you're normally paying out of pocket, which a lot of us do, why wouldn't you want the help?
Right.
Why wouldn't you want to save hundreds as opposed to like paying thousands or something, you know?
Exactly. So that's amazing. I mean, I've said this before, I think. I've been in this industry for over 20 years. And the way that it's getting its shit together is like really impressive, I have to say. Like these kinds of resources definitely never existed before. Yeah. And, so many people come into the industry not knowing, because often their agents don't give them the resources or the advice or anything like that. And they just come in just having no idea, and they end up making bad decisions and then regretting it and then getting a really bad taste in their mouth. And, working in porn can either be a really wonderful experience or a really terrible experience, depending on the foot that you get off on.
Yeah, it's so true. And that was kind of even the experience that I had too, was it could have been bad if I just like wallowed in misery and like was like all these bad situations. Like I had a fake agent try and manipulate me. He wasn't even a real agent. He was my friend's manager, but she's not in the industry anymore. But she was doing good at the time. So I was like, yeah, I'll talk to your manager, dude. And like he was giving me all this weird advice. And finally, I remember hanging up with him on the phone when I was in Las Vegas one time. I was like, dude, you do not you don't own me. You can't tell me what the fuck to do.
Like what kind of advice?
It was just like, he called me and he was like mad because he thought I gave someone else information to like get booked with another company, and it was someone he just didn't like. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I don't care about you or what you're even yelling at me about. You're not going to yell at me. Hang up. And it was like that. Like, I could have just stopped right there and like, this is terrible. This is an awful situation. And I felt duped and betrayed and all that. And I did feel fucked up, but I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to like do on my own and not listen to any motherfuckers anymore after that. Yeah. And, like I've had my better experiences after that. So yeah, I mean, it could have gone either way.
What do you think is your favorite thing about working in the adult industry? And what do you think is your least favorite thing?
My favorite thing is the people. I love us. I love us hoes. I love us like weirdos. I love the pervs. I love the freaks. I love it. It's my favorite. I think I'm very voyeuristic. So I don't even always have to be participating to be loving it. Yeah. But I think one of the things that I really dislike is probably the disorganization. And maybe that's why I'm so passionate about trying to pull resources and organize things, because if we were really on top of things and more organized, like maybe some other different industries, people would make a lot more money. They would make a lot more of what they're worth, not just performers, but the producers as well. And the production companies would get more of their, investment back. And I just think if we all played a little more fairly and tried to do things a little bit more legitimately and like, yes, inform each other of how we can all be better. We can be better, because, if you get a bad taste in your mouth, then what's going to compel you to be better? You might want to be shitty to the next person because you got treated shitty. Yeah. So that kind of thing. Like, so maybe if you pass on a feeling of like doing someone right and being integral, that will make them change and be like, well, I could do that too and be a little more integral and treat people a little more fairly. Yeah. So trying to influence the ripple effect of positivity.
Right. Well, I'm going to ask you a couple like personal questions before we wrap this up. I have like my list of like cool, insightful questions that I like to throw at people sometimes. I think sometimes it can come for some interesting conversation. Cool. So what makes you feel most empowered?
Most empowered, I guess, is when I just know I can trust the people around me. And that usually makes me feel a little bit insecure is when I don't know what people's intentions are. If I can't trust them, I don't feel like my best self around people like that. So yeah, when I'm around people that I can trust and I know that have my back and I can have theirs, then I feel completely empowered in any situation. But if I'm alone, I don't know. I just try and like, where's the nearest exit? No, I'm just playing.
Yeah. No, I hear you. What do you consider to be the definition of success?
Personal happiness, contentment within yourself, like not waking up feeling regretful or remorseful or just awful about even just like your physical self, you know, like if you feel healthy and on top of things, like you don't have to burn yourself out on a 2-hour workout. I feel healthy already, you know, those kinds of things. Like, yeah, I feel like success is like just a personal contentment within yourself, regardless of what's going on.
Yeah.
Outside.
Do you feel like you're in that place now?
Yeah. It's so weird. I do. Cause I had oftentimes been chasing like a monetary success idea, and that made me not feel successful ever, you know?
Because you can always make more money.
Yeah, right. So yeah, exactly. And even at times where I was like comfortably fine, like like I didn't get like this extra bonus that I thought I was going to get, or I'm not like able to attain this extra vacation package because I need to make this much more money or something. But when I kind of stopped thinking of it in those terms and just being like, you know, am I happy with the people that I'm surrounding myself with in my life? Do they feel happy with, you know, my addition into their life? Am I able to like take care of myself and the people I care about and without stress or, you know, any kind of like doubt? Then yeah, I feel like that's where I got to this place. Yeah.
I feel you. Like I've noticed that I've felt like markedly happier lately in the last few months. And it's funny because I find myself like trying to analyze it because I want to hold on to it so tightly. Don't ever be unhappy ever again. I always feel this way. But I think a big part of it is, well, I mean, I won't lie. Like a lot of it is work has improved. Like a big part of it honestly has been like Twisties has been really great. And I'm so much like less stressed being there. Like they've done a lot of major changes that have just like made me so much happier. So thank you, Twisties. But also too, like there were some other personal struggles that I was going through that I feel like I've overcome lately. But also too, like what you said, just feeling grateful for what you have and not constantly being like, oh, I need to do that. Cause I'm always like striving to do more, but just trying, I every day I try to recognize how lucky I am to be where I'm at.
Yeah.
And to be grateful for what I have. And that, you know, because everything is all about like your perception.
Yes.
Because like no matter how shitty you feel, like if you're in a position where you can afford electronics to listen to this podcast, you're better off than like honestly like 90% of people on this planet.
That's true.
And there's always someone who wants to be where you're at right now.
Yeah. I remember I wanted to be where I was at, and I was like, that would never happen. And it's my life, you know? And that was one of the things. Yeah. I was talking to someone this weekend about that I was like, I'm actually feeling really lucky that I can afford living in one of the most expensive cities in the world, and I have money to go out shopping this weekend. Yeah. And I have my bills and everything taken care of. Like that's such a feeling that not everyone has, you know?
Absolutely.
And that can start wearing down on you. And it's not about like, oh, I can spend money. It's not that. It's just like, I can do the things that I know make me happy, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You can treat yourself.
Yeah.
I definitely feel you on that. I do stupid stuff like, so I despise exercise. Like I just hate it. But I do it all the time because it makes me feel so good. So I was in spin class this morning, and I do this a lot. Like when I get to that point where I'm like, oh my God, this is tired. My legs are burning. Like I don't enjoy it when I know some people like they get to that place where like their legs are burning and they like love it. I fucking hate it. I hate feeling.
You hate feeling the burn?
I hate feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I feel uncomfortable when I exercise because I'm pushing myself. And so, and in the middle of it, I'm always like, oh, this sucks. This sucks. I hate this so much. But, what I find that I do now is I just think to myself, I am so grateful to have legs that burn right now. I'm so grateful to have money to go to this gym and be exercising. I am so grateful to like just be able to exercise and to be able to complain about exercise.
Yeah.
You know, like just to have the ability to have these things to complain about.
Right. No, it's so true. It's so true. Cause there's someone out there like hurting, wishing that they had a gym program that they could go to.
Or wishing they had fucking legs.
Yeah.
There's people out there who don't have legs.
Yeah.
I mean, something just that simple.
True.
You know?
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, I feel you. That gratefulness helps to like live your life successfully regardless of what's happening.
It makes such a big difference. And, I used to, when I was going through like a really hard time last year, I made myself, I had a friend that we would text back and forth gratitude lists. And it was, even though like at the time, like I was like pissed off, grateful for my dog, grateful food on the table, but like I didn't really feel it. But I think that just the practice of that helped, like practicing living in gratitude and on a daily basis. Like if you put it out there all the time, even if you're not feeling it at the time, I feel like it starts to resonate after a point. And I think that that's really like the greatest gift you can give yourself is gratitude.
Truly. Yeah. I agree.
So on that note, I am so grateful that you came out to share all of your wisdom and information with us. I feel like this was a really educational episode, and I love having people like you on to show the world that the adult industry is and can be an organized industry, and there are people in it who care about the performers and the directors and about making it a better place. And I feel like people like you are really making a difference. So thank you.
Oh, I'm trying. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on here and just like existing as well. Cause I always love to meet the people that I think are admirable people in this industry, always pushing towards a better good.
Yay. Thank you. So can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media? And if you have any websites they should visit, how can they financially support you as well as the FSC?
Thank you. Yes. So my personal website is Fuck You IG.
Oh,
because I had.
How do you?
Yeah.
Then?
Well, because
I don't know.
I wasn't even putting a porn website in the website link, and they kept disabling the link. So I was like, "Fuck you IG" on GoDaddy, like FUCKYOUIG.com, and then like I just used the little template.
I kind of can't believe that URL was available because I feel
neither could I, right?
Feel that way.
Neither could I. So I was like, I'm buying this instantly, and then I kind of was like, well, I'll just put it together. And I told my little story. I was like, they won't let me post any links, so I guess click here since I have to put the link in here, and I'll update this later. I just want to express myself. And it was really bratty because I like did it in like my anger, and I was like, well, I'll just leave it bratty, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so www.fuckyouig.com, and then that links to my link tree that has all of my links of like articles I've talked in or written, and my OnlyFans if you actually want to see me being naked, and onlyfans.com/it's Lotus Lain, which is also all of my social media. So on Twitter, I'm at ITSLOTUSLAIN. Same with Instagram.
I noticed that you had the same handle for Instagram and Twitter. Most people don't get to have that. So
yeah. I've been trying to hold on.
Yeah, I know. Don't let them disable your account.
I know, yeah, and it's so hard. Like that's why I did the Fuck You IG, because I can't like post the sexy pictures that I want, so I just post like nice pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
And just like, yeah, just go to my OnlyFans. That's the only place that we're able to put that stuff.
Yeah.
Or Twitter, you know.
Yeah, that's true. At least for the meantime.
For now, yeah.
And you guys can follow me at Holly Randall on Instagram and on Twitter. And if you want to support this show, go to patreon.com/Holly Randall Unfiltered. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.